The autumn wind howled through the silverwood grove as the Kitsune tribe gathered beneath the ancient oaks. Elder Tomo stood at the center, her 9 silver tails flickering like moonlight as she addressed her people. The annual remembrance was always somber, a night to mourn what could never be. We honor those we've lost, Tomo's voice carried across the clearing. And we accept what the spirits have decreed. Humans and our kind cannot raise young together. The magic rejects it. The bond fails. This is our truth. 20-year-old Akira sat at the edge of the circle, her 3 copper tails wrapped around herself. She'd heard this speech every year since childhood, yet it never stopped hurting. Her own mother had fallen in love with a human merchant 20 years ago, and the attempt to bridge their worlds had ended in heartbreak when Akira's infant human half-sister had died, unable to thrive in their mystical realm. Suddenly, the sky split open. A blazing streak of golden light tore through the clouds, screaming earthward. The Kitsune scattered as the object crashed into the sacred pool with a deafening roar, sending water cascading in every direction. Steam rose in thick clouds, and for a moment, everything was chaos. Then they heard it, a cry. High-pitched, unmistakably human, unmistakably infant. Akira was the first to reach the crater's edge. There, floating in a strange crystalline pod that was rapidly dissolving, was a baby boy. He couldn't have been more than a few months old, with dark curls plastered to his head and the most startling green eyes she'd ever seen. Those eyes locked onto hers, and the crying stopped. No. Tomo's voice was sharp behind her. Akira, step away. But Akira couldn't move. The baby reached out tiny hands toward her, making soft cooing sounds. Something in her chest, something she'd never felt before, pulled taut like a string connecting them. "He'll die anyway," said Kaito, one of the tribe's hunters, his voice cold with old grief. "They always do. Better to leave him to the forest than watch another human child wither in our care." "He came from the sky," whispered Hana, Akira's closest friend, her 5 tails bristling with nervous energy. "The old stories speak of skyborn gifts. What if the spirits sent him?" The pod finally dissolved completely, and the baby began to slip under the water. Without thinking, Akira dove in. The pool's magic tingled against her skin. It usually burned humans, rejecting their presence. But as she lifted the child, the water seemed to cradle them both, glowing with a soft amber light. When she emerged, gasping, the baby was laughing. Actually laughing, water streaming down his cherubic face as he grabbed at her wet hair with delighted squeals. The tribe stood in stunned silence. "The pool accepted him," Hana breathed. "It's never." "Elder Tomo, the pool accepted him." Tomo's expression was unreadable, her ancient eyes studying the child in Akira's arms. Finally she spoke, "We'll watch him tonight. If he survives until dawn, we'll decide his fate." "But Akira..." Her gaze softened slightly. "Don't let yourself hope. Hope is what destroys us." But as Akira wrapped the giggling baby in her cloak and carried him toward her den, she realized it was already too late. 3 months had passed since the sky had delivered its impossible gift. The baby, whom Akira had named Ren, meaning lotus, for how he'd bloomed in water that should have rejected him, had not only survived but thrived. The tribe remained divided. "He's changing her," Kaito growled during a council meeting, his 7 tails lashing with agitation. "Akira barely joins the hunts anymore. She's obsessed." "She's nurturing," Hana countered, though even she looked worried. "That's different than obsession." But Tomo had noticed something more troubling. The bond between Akira and Ren was manifesting physical symptoms. Akira's copper fur had begun developing golden streaks. When Ren cried, even from across the grove, Akira would wake instantly, no matter how deeply asleep. And most impossibly, the child was beginning to show signs of magic. Late one evening, Tomo found Akira in her den, sitting beside the sleeping infant. The young kitsune looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, but her expression was peaceful as she watched Ren's chest rise and fall. "You're killing yourself," Tomo said softly, settling beside her. "You need to feed properly. Rest. I do rest. When he sleeps, I sleep. That's not enough, and you know it." Tomo reached out, gently touching one of the golden streaks in Akira's tail. This shouldn't be happening. The bond between kitsune and human children always fails. Boys. But this is something else. Akira's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. I can feel him, Elder. His emotions. His needs. It's like he's part of me. Is that what mothers are supposed to feel? I don't know. I've never heard of such a thing between our kinds. Tomo paused, choosing her next words carefully. Akira, we need to consider that someone might come looking for him. That pod wasn't natural. Someone sent him here, perhaps for protection. Or perhaps as a weapon. A weapon? Akira's tails fluffed defensively. He's a baby. A baby who survived magic that should have killed him. A baby who's forming an impossible bond with one of us. A baby who fell from the sky in a crystalline vessel covered in symbols none of us can read. Tomo's voice was grave. We need to be careful. As if sensing the tension, Rin stirred, whimpering. Akira immediately lifted him, cradling him against her chest. But instead of crying, the baby reached up with one chubby hand and touched her face. A warm golden glow spread from his palm, and suddenly Akira's exhaustion seemed to ease. Tomo's breath caught. He's sharing energy with you. That's impossible. Even kitsune children can't do that until they're at least 5 years old. Maybe he's special, Akira whispered, nuzzling the baby's dark curls. Maybe the spirits really did send him for a reason. Before Tomo could respond, Kaito burst into the den, breathing hard. Humans. A search party. They're at the forest's edge, tracking something. They have devices that glow like that pod did. Akira's grip on Rin tightened, protective instinct flaring hot in her chest. They can't have him. They might not be looking for him specifically, Tomo said, though her expression suggested otherwise. But we should be ready. Kaito, gather the patrol. Hana, help me strengthen the concealment barriers. Akira. I won't leave him. I wasn't going to ask you to. Tomo met her eyes. But understand this. If you truly bond with this child, if you become his mother in the eyes of magic itself, you'll be bound to him for life. His joys will be yours. His pain will be yours. And if he dies... She didn't need to finish. Akira looked down at Ren, who had fallen back asleep in her arms, his tiny fist clutching her finger with surprising strength. She could feel his heartbeat syncing with hers, his breath matching her rhythm. The golden warmth between them was growing stronger every day. I'm already bound, she whispered. I think I was from the moment I pulled him from that water. Tomo nodded slowly, something like resignation and respect mixing in her ancient eyes. Then we protect him. All of us. Whatever comes. Outside, in the darkness beyond the grove, lights flickered through the trees. The humans were getting closer. By the time Rin turned 2 years old, he'd become the grove's greatest mystery and most precious secret. The human search parties had eventually abandoned their hunt, but the tribe remained vigilant. Akira had developed a fierce maternal protectiveness that even Kaito no longer challenged. Mama! Rin toddled across the clearing, his chubby legs carrying him straight toward Akira, who was helping Hana prepare the evening meal. Mama, look! He opened his palm, and a tiny flame danced above it, blue-white and controlled, far more sophisticated than what any kitsune child could manage at his age. Hana dropped the herbs she was holding. Akira, that's 4th-tier magic. He shouldn't be able to. I know. Akira knelt down, gently closing Ren's fingers to extinguish the flame. She wasn't angry, but her heart raced with worry. Ren, darling, we talked about this. Magic only when Mama's with you, remember? Sorry, Mama. His green eyes, now flecked with copper, like hers, looked genuinely contrite. Then he brightened. But I did good? I controlled it like you taught. You did perfectly. She kissed his forehead, breathing in his scent, no longer entirely human, but not quite kitsune either. Something uniquely his own, like honey and thunderstorms. But you're very powerful, little Lotus. We have to be careful until you learn to control it fully. Your mama's right. Tomo approached, her expression thoughtful. Ren, come with me. I want to show you something. The toddler looked to Akira, who nodded permission. He slipped his small hand into Tomo's, and the unlikely pair walked toward the sacred pool where he'd first arrived. Hana waited until they were out of earshot. "Akira, we need to talk about what happens when he gets older. When he starts asking questions about where he came from. About why he doesn't look like us. He knows he's human. We've never hidden that from him. But does he understand what that means? That someday he might want to live among his own kind? That someone might come for him?" Hana's voice was gentle but insistent. "You've bonded with him so completely that I don't think either of you could survive that separation. Not anymore." Akira's tails wrapped protectively around herself, the golden streaks now dominating the copper. Over the past 2 years, her transformation had been profound. She was stronger, faster, and her magic had taken on strange new properties, abilities to heal that no other kitsune possessed, as if Ren's very presence was changing her at a fundamental level. "I know," she admitted quietly. "I've thought about it constantly. But what can I do? Stop loving him? Stop being his mother?" He fell from the sky into my arms. "Hana. The spirits chose this. Did they? Or did they just drop a problem in our laps and leave us to figure it out?" Before Akira could respond, a scream echoed across the grove. Ren's scream. Akira moved faster than she ever had, reaching the sacred pool in seconds. What she found made her blood run cold. Ren stood in the pool's center, glowing with brilliant golden light. But he wasn't alone. 3 translucent figures surrounded him, humanoid but clearly not human, their forms shifting and ethereal. They spoke in a language Akira had never heard, melodious and strange. And Ren was speaking back to them. Tomo stood at the water's edge, transfixed. Akira, he's speaking the old tongue. The language of the spirits themselves. I can barely understand fragments, but he's conversing with them fluently." One of the figures turned toward Akira, and she felt the weight of its gaze, ancient, powerful, and assessing. It spoke, the words ringing in her mind rather than her ears. "The bridge between worlds. He walks in all realms. You have raised him well, Kitsune Mother. What do you want with him?" Akira demanded, wading into the water without fear. "Why did you send him to us?" "We did not send him. We merely guided his fall to where he would be safe. He is important to both our peoples, to all peoples. When the time comes, he will need to speak for those who have no voice." "What time? What are you talking about?" But the figures were already fading. Ren blinked, and the glow around him dimmed. He stumbled and Akira caught him, pulling him against her chest. "Mama," he murmured, his voice drowsy. "The light people say I have to help lots of people someday. That I'm supposed to." He yawned. "Supposed to make everyone talk to each other. Shoo, little lotus. Sleep now. We'll figure it out together." But as she carried him back to their den, Akira felt the weight of destiny settling over them both. Ren wasn't just a child who could survive in their world, he was something more. Something unprecedented. That night, as Ren slept curled against her, Akira made a silent vow to the spirits, to the sky, to whatever forces had brought him into her life. Whatever his destiny, whatever challenges came, she would be there. Mother and son, bound by magic and love, against whatever the future held. Ren was 5 years old when the humans returned, but this time, they came with gifts instead of weapons. Emissaries from the eastern kingdoms, Kaito reported, his suspicion clear. 3 humans, unarmed, carrying offerings. They're requesting parley at the forest's edge. Tomo convened an emergency council. The tribe gathered in the great hollow, tension crackling through the air. Akira stood at the back, Ren's hand clasped firmly in hers. The boy had grown into a beautiful child, his dark curls now shot through with copper strands that matched her fur. His green eyes observed everything with an intelligence far beyond his years. "We ignore them," one elder suggested. "As we always have." "They specifically mentioned the child of 2 worlds," Tomo countered. "They know about Ren. Somehow they know." Akira felt her blood run cold. Ren squeezed her hand, sensing her fear. "We should hear what they have to say," Hana spoke up. "If they know about Ren, ignoring them won't make that knowledge disappear. Better to understand their intentions." After heated debate, Tomo decided a small delegation would meet the humans. Akira insisted on being present. If they were talking about her son, she had every right to hear it. As sunset painted the sky amber and gold, 5 kitsune stood at the forest's edge in their human forms, facing 3 travel-worn humans. The lead emissary was a woman in her 40s, with kind eyes and silver-streaked hair. She bowed deeply. "Honored Kitsune, I am Ambassador Mei. We come from the Council of Human Lands with urgent news. 5 years ago, a vessel carrying a child was stolen from a monastery under our protection. The child was being transported to a place of safety when the vessel was intercepted and sent away, we believe by someone trying to protect him from those who would harm him." Akira's heart pounded. "What do you mean, harm him?" Mei's eyes found her with surprising accuracy. "You must be his guardian. I can see the bond, it glows around you both like morning light." She smiled gently. The child wasn't ordinary. His parents were a human priestess and something else. Something ancient and powerful. When he was born, certain factions wanted to use him to exploit his unique nature. A friend of his mother's stole the vessel and launched it skyward, trusting fate to hide him. "So you've come to take him back," Akira said flatly, her tales manifesting in her distress, the glamour falling away. "No." Mei raised her hands peacefully. "We've come to warn you. The faction that sought him then has grown stronger. They've learned he survived. They're coming, an army, not a search party. They believe he's the key to controlling mystical creatures, to enslaving those with magic." Tomo stepped forward, her 9 tails radiating authority. "Why would we trust you? This could be an elaborate ruse." The second emissary, a young man, spoke up. "Because I knew his mother. She was my sister. Before she died, she made me swear to find her son if he still lived, to ensure he was safe and loved." His eyes glistened. "I'm his uncle. And when I heard rumors of a human child living among the kitsune, growing strong and happy, I prayed it was him." He pulled out a small pendant, a crystal that caught the fading light. "This was his mother's. If he has any of her gifts, he'll feel it." Before anyone could stop him, Rin broke free from Akira's grip and ran forward. The child shouldn't have been there at all, but he'd followed them, hidden at the forest's edge. Now he reached for the crystal, and when his fingers touched it, both child and crystal blazed with golden light. Visions flooded through him. Akira could feel them through their bond. A beautiful woman with Ren's green eyes, crying as she placed him in the vessel. A man with strange, luminous skin kissing the woman's forehead. The woman whispering, "Find him when he's ready. Tell him he was loved. Tell him he's meant to bridge worlds, not divide them." The light faded. Rin stumbled back into Akira's arms, tears streaming down his face. "She was beautiful," he whispered. "My first mother. She loved me." Akira's heart cracked even as she held him tighter. "Yes, darling. She loved you so much she gave you away to keep you safe. And you became his mother in her place," the uncle, whose name they learned was Jean, said softly. "I can see how deeply you love him. I'm not here to take him from you. I'm here to help you prepare for what's coming." Over the next hours, they talked. Mei explained that the hostile faction, called the Dominion, had been conquering human lands and capturing mystical creatures. They believed Rin, a being who could exist fully in both worlds, who spoke all languages, who commanded magic no human should access, could be used as a weapon or a key to control others. "They'll be here within a moon's cycle," Mei warned. "We've been trying to slow them down, but they're relentless. You need to decide, hide deeper and hope they never find you, or prepare to fight." "There's a third option," Rin said suddenly, his young voice clear and strong. Everyone turned to look at him. The light people from the pool said I'm supposed to make everyone talk to each other. What if instead of fighting or hiding, we unite? Humans and kitsune together, showing the Dominion they're wrong about us. A child's idealism, Kaido scoffed. Or a prophet's wisdom, Tomo countered, studying Ren with new intensity. The spirits chose him for a reason. Perhaps this is it. That night, as Akira held Ren in their den, the boy looked up at her. "Mama, if we work with the humans, will I have to leave you?" "Never," Akira promised, kissing his forehead. Wherever you go, I go. Whatever you become, I'll be there. You're my son. That's a bond nothing can break. Even if the Dominion comes? Even then. She wrapped her tails around him protectively. You were a gift from the sky, little lotus. And I will defend that gift with everything I am. The Dominion arrived like a storm of steel and fury 3 weeks later. 200 soldiers, along with 20 mages wearing collars made of dark crystal, captured mystical beings, enslaved and forced to fight. But they didn't find a helpless grove of kitsune hiding in fear. They found an army. Over the past weeks, May and Jean had sent word to every mystical community in the region, to every human settlement willing to stand against the Dominion's tyranny. Griffins roost in the ancient oaks. A family of river dragons coiled in the sacred pool. Dryads merged with the trees, ready to spring forth. And alongside them, human soldiers, farmers, mages who'd escaped the Dominion's control, all standing with the kitsune. At the center of the grove stood Ren, now bearing his mother's crystal pendant. At 5 years old, he looked small and fragile. But when he spoke, his voice carried across the clearing with supernatural clarity, speaking simultaneously in the human common tongue, the kitsune language, and the old tongue of spirits. Dominion soldiers, he called out. You've been told we're enemies. That humans and mystical beings can't coexist. That someone like me, born of both worlds, is an abomination to be controlled or destroyed. The Dominion commander, a hard-faced woman named General Yara, sneered. A child playing at speeches. Surrender the boy and the kitsune, and we might let the traitor humans live. I'm living proof you're wrong, Rin continued, unshaken. I was raised by kitsune. Loved by them. Taught by them. And I love humans too, my birth mother, my Uncle Jean, all the people who've come to stand with us. I don't belong to one world or the other. I belong to both. And I'm not alone. He gestured, and figures stepped forward from the crowd. A human woman holding hands with her kitsune partner, their adopted child between them. A griffin rider and his human bondmate. A dryad who'd married a human carpenter. Dozens of mixed families, each a testament to the possibility of unity. You can't enslave what you don't understand, Rin said. You can't control love. You can't weaponize family. The only way forward is together. Pretty words from a freak of nature, Yara spat. All units, attack. The Dominion soldiers surged forward, but then something unprecedented happened. The enslaved mages in their dark collars suddenly stopped. One by one, they turned toward Rin, their eyes widening. The boy's golden aura was expanding, reaching out to touch each of them. He spoke in the old tongue, words of freedom and recognition, and the dark crystal collars began to crack. Impossible! Yara shrieked. Those collars can't be broken. Nothing's impossible when you bridge worlds, Akira said, stepping up beside her son, her 8 tails, she'd grown another during their preparations, flowing around her. You tried to create walls between peoples. My son is a door. The collars shattered. 20 mystical beings, including a phoenix, 2 elementals, and a young dragon, stood free for the first time in years. They didn't attack the Dominion soldiers. Instead, they simply stepped back, joining the defenders. Your soldiers are tired, Rin called out, his young voice somehow reaching every heart. They're scared. Many don't even believe in your cause, they just followed orders. I can feel it. I can feel all of you. His eyes glowed gold. You don't have to fight. There's another way. One soldier dropped his weapon. Then another. Within minutes, half the Dominion force had laid down their arms, many with tears streaming down their faces as Ren's empathic magic washed over them, not controlling, but revealing the truth they'd been denying. Yara and her most loyal followers tried to fight, but they were vastly outnumbered now. The battle that should have been a massacre turned into a rout, with most of the Dominion forces surrendering or fleeing. When the sun rose the next morning over Silverwood Grove, a new era had begun. 5 years later, the grove had transformed into something unprecedented, the sanctuary, a place where humans and mystical beings lived, worked, and loved together. Ren, now 10 years old, spent his days studying with both Tomo and Jean, learning the magic and wisdom of both his heritages. "Mama," he called out one afternoon, racing into their home. "The council approved my proposal. We're going to establish 6 more sanctuaries across the continent." Akira looked up from her work. She now served as the head of defense for their growing community, training both humans and mystical beings in protection magic. Her 9 tails, she'd finally grown her full set, swished with pride. "That's wonderful, darling. Your birth mother would be so proud." "Both my mothers," Rin corrected, throwing his arms around her. "I wouldn't be who I am without you. You saved me. You believed in me when everyone said what we had was impossible." Akira held her son close, breathing in his unique scent, still like honey and thunderstorms, but now with notes of old parchment and morning dew. "You saved yourself, little lotus. I just gave you space to bloom." "We saved each other," Rin insisted. He pulled back, his green and copper eyes meeting hers. "I'm going to spend my life making sure no one else has to prove their existence is possible. That every child like me, every mixed family, every bridge between worlds, is celebrated instead of feared." "That's a tall order for a 10-year-old, Hannah called out, entering with Jean close behind. The two had become close friends during the conflict and its aftermath. "Lucky for you, you've got a whole community to help." That evening, as the sanctuary gathered for their weekly feast, Akira watched her son move through the crowd, speaking Kitsune with the elders, human common tongue with the merchants, old tongue with the spirits that now openly visited the grove. He paused to heal a child's scraped knee with golden light, then laughed as a young griffin playfully knocked him over. "You did this," Tomo said, appearing beside her. "5 years ago, I told you not to hope. That hope destroys us. But you hoped anyway, and look what it built." "Hope didn't do this," Akira replied, her eyes never leaving Ren. "Love did. The kind of love that doesn't care about species or possibility. The kind that says, 'You're mine, and I'll fight the world for you.' That's called being a mother." "Then I guess I am one," Akira said softly, "even though everyone said it was impossible." Ren looked up from across the clearing, catching her eye. He grinned, that bright, beautiful smile that had first captured her heart when he was just a baby in the sacred pool, and waved. Akira waved back, her heart full to bursting. He'd fallen from the sky as an impossible gift, a child who shouldn't exist. But he'd taught them all that the most impossible things are often the most real. And sometimes, the family you choose, across species, across worlds, across every boundary that says you can't, becomes the truest family of all.